What's up guys, I'm FEH Pass and welcome to another Resplendent review. Today I'll be taking a look at one of the most awaited Resplendent units in Camilla, and I'll be going over the different builds that you can run on her, and at the end I'll have a special bonus segment. So Camilla is a Gen 1 axe flyer with Camilla's axe as her preferred weapon. This is a pretty old weapon, and that's why it doesn't really have a lot of effect. So if she's within 2 specific cavalry or flying ally, then she gets +4 attack and speed in the combat. And then with the weapon refinery, she's able to give out +3 attack and speed in the combat to the cavalry and flying allies in 2 spaces. So back then this was still pretty useful because we didn't really have as much stat stacking and these many like crazy support units. So at that time you could run her with drive attack sacred seal, run her with goat flyers or ward flyers, and pretty much just stack on the support for the flying allies. Flying units were still able to stack up a lot of stats, and Camilla was able to fit right in with this kind of weapon refine. And her attack stat isn't really all that high even after the Resplendent stats, so that's why having the supported weapon refine wasn't really the worst thing. But nowadays we have such insane support units that you should not even be spending any kind of divine dues on this weapon, and they're just much better weapons that you can run on her. She does have interesting mixed bulk where she can both make use of something like Wyvern Rift and in future even Pegasus Rift at max investment. So there are not a lot of axe flyers that have the mixed bulk like her, but unfortunately she pays the price for that by having the lower attack and also not that high of a speed by the modern standards. And if you're going to be building her up, then you should be choosing between these 3 weapons. The first weapon is Arcane Downfall, which in my opinion is a bit of an underwhelming weapon, but still it does have things like special cooldown charge, which can help you retaliate back with icebergs, and it also gives you that healing in combat per hit. Its follow-up denial is not the greatest effect because we have got a lot of null follow-up and half null follow-up units, so that's why it's not the greatest weapon, but certainly better than her weapon refine. And Valentine Vigard's Devoted Axe Plus is an incredibly strong inheritable weapon. So it provides you with the pre-combat damage, and this depends on X of foe's attack. This is an in-combat check, so it is going to be 30% of foe's attack if you have the weapon strangle advantage or if you have more defense than the foe. Otherwise, it is going to be 15% of foe's attack. So nowadays, at the bare minimum, you're going to be having foes with 70 attack, and at that point, you're able to get 21 pre-combat damage, and even if you get the lower of 15% of foe's attack as the pre-combat damage, you're still able to get over 10 pre-combat damage, which is really good. Unfortunately, this weapon doesn't really provide you with any kind of speed. It does provide you with extra attack and defense, and can provide you with even more attack and defense depending on your visible defense. And if you want to get things done with Camilla in player phase, then this is going to be the weapon of choice. And then we have got her best weapon in Arcane Thorny, which is an incredible arcane axe. So it debuffs the foe for -6 attack and defense, and it spreads across the closest foes and the foes in 2 spaces of them. So even if you're not in the combat, you're able to support your allies. You also get the sabotage effect on the foe in the combat, so that works really well with the debuffs that you can do. And the full tempo effect is something that flyers are not easily able to get. So the Null Guard is going to be having good synergy with something like special charges of Ledgering Hinoka, and this way you can retaliate back with no quarters, which are going to be piercing the damage reduction. And finally, you're able to get the full null follow-up if you have got more speed than the foe. So out of these weapons, depending on the resources that you have got and the kind of build you want to go for, you can choose between them. Her preferred weapon is definitely not something you should be running, and this is a build that you can run from the divine codes. You still need to get Arcane Downfall and Attack Speed Clash for, but Attack Speed Clash for is not the rarest skill, and Arcane Downfall is pretty much the bare minimum weapon that you can run on her if you're not going to be giving her extremely expensive skills. So Attack Speed Clash is going to be giving you that debuff neutralization to your attack and speed, and it does have good synergy with the extra movement that you get out of the Rain Snap. Rain Snap and Guard Bearing are available quite early on in the divine codes. So Guard Bearing is going to be giving you that damage reduction for melee tanking, and Speed Defense Rain Snap can be a good supportive skill, and the extra movement can also be helpful. You can also run Heal Force on her because of the special charges of Arcane Downfall, but you need to get the damage output, and that's why Iceberg could be run so that you can retaliate back with it. And Arcane Thorny is, again, like I said, the best weapon that you can run on her. This is going to be having amazing synergy with Emblem Marth as your special, making no quarter into one cooldown special, which you can retaliate back with. And damage reduction piercing is really important nowadays, so this is going to be the premium special to be run. You can also run attack speed unity in her slot A so that you can take care of any kind of debuffs to your attack and speed. And this is going to be a good skill when you're going to be near your allies and melee tanking. You can also try and go for attack speed clash 4, but with this build we don't really have rain snap. And if you are on ultra budget, then attack speed catch is also something you can run. Soaring Guidance is going to be the main warping skill you can run for slot C if you want to provide the support, and if you don't have attuned Ivy. And if you want to have a full player phase build, just stacking up a lot of pre-combat damage, then you can run Acts of Devotion, which is going to be giving you anywhere from 10 to 20 pre-combat damage. And then we've got 14 pre-combat damage with Flared Sparrow and Assassin Strike. So you're pretty much going to be getting like 35 pre-combat damage, which is quite a lot for killing things. And this definitely helps Camilla because she doesn't really have the highest attack stat. Unfortunately, you don't really get minus on special cooldown with this weapon, so you will need to run Emblem Marth to have it to cooldown no quarter. And Rain Snap could be run with a player phase build like this. And Soaring Echo is going to be the perfect attune skill that you can run on her. And then you can make use of other slotsy skills like Rain Snap or even Deadly Miasma. Unfortunately, the Deadly Miasma is going to be clashing with Flared Sparrow, so don't run this if you're trying to get the Flame Terrain active. But if you don't have Flared Sparrow, then Deadly Miasma could certainly be obtained from Attuned Ivy while getting Soaring Echo. And you can try and run Firestorm Boost 3 to get the guard effect and the extra HP. Camilla does have a bit more HP than a lot of the Axe Flyers, so this way she can be a bit more bulky. And the guard effect has good synergy with the full tempo effect of Arcane Thrima, so the enemy is definitely not charging their specials unless they have Null Guard themselves. And Arcane Thrima does give you the full Null follow-up, so if you want to go the player phase route, you can also do that by running aerial maneuvers. And this is going to be giving you that 2-space warping. You can also run Rain Snap in the slot C to get the extra movement. And Flared Sparrow is going to be the player phase option. So this is not going to be giving you as much pre-combat damage as the Acts of Devotion build. But still, with Arcane Thrima, if you want to go the player phase route, then this is certainly an option. And because you have the full tempo effect, you trigger no quarter on her double. It's just that you're going to be needing to stack up a lot of speed to double the threats that we have got nowadays. And finally, the best build for her is going to be using Wyvern Rift. So the magical number with Wyvern Rift is 42 defense, and Camilla is easily able to get past that. So even in future we get Pegasus Rift, that is also something you can run, but it doesn't really matter too much unless they change the effects drastically of these two skills. Wyvern Rift also gives you the true damage and the flat damage reduction, and it also gives you the pseudo diamant effect, which makes it harder for the enemy to double you, and it only gives that effect to the enemy. So you're still going to be able to double while the enemy is going to be having a hard time. And Emblem Eye could be used so that you can get the unpierceable damage reduction against the ranged threats. And distant attack speed solo is also something you can run in her slot A to get the distant counter effect. Attack speed prime is also an option, but with the buff stealing that we've got nowadays, I kind of prefer having distant attack speed solo. And it also doesn't really have any kind of condition to activate the distant counter effect, so you don't really have to give her a lot of visible status effects. So this is the max investment build for you. If you're a big Camilla fan, I would also suggest you to give some kind of extra attack support to Camilla because we're going to be focusing on her defense, and you also want to give her some kind of pulse effect or special charges so that you can retaliate back with no quarter as we're running Emblem Ike. So that unpierceable damage reduction is really valuable because the guard bearing's damage reduction, while it's good, it's completely pierceable, and if you're going to be running her with guard bearing, then she's going to be a lot more suited for melee tanking. And once you get the flat damage reduction from Wyvern Rift and the unpierceable damage reduction with Emblem Ike, it is going to be making your matchups a lot better against the ranged threats, even the modern threats. If I had to improve Camilla's weapon refine, this is what I would do. So I would give her the adaptive damage because she's got the Bolt Axe and Engage as an emblem, and she's a Malik Knight in Fate, so getting the adaptive damage does make sense, and it can help her in the matchups where the foes have lopsided bulk, and then in the combat, she's able to get +4 to all of these stats, and also 40% damage reduction on foes' first attacks, including the brave hits, and she also gets special cooldown charge +1 on both her attacks and the enemy's attacks. So this way she's able to trigger something like Glacies or Iceberg a lot more easily. And if you use emblem Marth, then you can also retaliate back with no quarters. And then comes the weapon refinery part, which makes her a lot more unique even as a free-to-play unit. So in the combat, to herself and the allies in 3 spaces, she's going to be giving the following effects. She's able to give out +4 to all of these stats, and also +7 true damage per hit. And this is really unique because outside of Muspel, you're really not going to be able to get the true damage on your allies, and this is going to be including the AoE specials. So while +7 true damage is not the biggest deal, it is still really useful for doing a bit extra damage, and this does emulate her personal skill from Fates, whose icon she has got in this refine, so I thought it would be fitting. And then you also heal up 7 HP per hit, and this is going to be giving you some nice self-sustain, and again it is trying to emulate her personal skill, which reduces the damage that you take. So in a way you can reduce the damage by healing up the HP per hit, and then finally she can neutralize any kind of effective damage against dragon, flying, and cavalry allies in 3 spaces. So this is huge because we have got Iode Shield, we have got Granny Shield, but we don't really have any kind of inheritable skills that can give you the immunity against the dragon effective weapon. And this does fit into Camilla's weapon really well because she's protective of Corrin. And even though we have got a lot more insane supports, it does make sense that Camilla is able to give such a unique support to Corrin. And Garen also has this kind of immunity against dragon effective weapons, if you remember, so it runs in the family, but Camilla decides to be nice and also gives out this effect to the other allies. So let me know in the comments what do you think about my re-refined theory craft. I don't really want to make her like Legend Camilla because she's just a busted unit, and I wanted to give her the support but in a different way. And you can click the link on his screen right now to check out my breakdown of this month's weapon refines, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as units with Savage Blow in the 3-star 4-star pool other than Camilla. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.